Are you ready to dominate? Because it's time. From Philly to Vegas, Canada to Peru, and everywhere in between. It's time for the podcast that makes the offseason suck a hell of a lot less. From the creators of Dynasty Depot, the internet's only live auction site for Dynasty fantasy football teams. Here's your hosts, Nelson Verman and Rick Taylor.
Yo, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 10, Masters Edition, Part 2. We're very excited tonight. We are going to have a great debate between the Taco Corporation and the Buffalo Alcoholic, which we will get to later. But first, let me introduce my co-hosts. The first one is a man that only rides a horse with no name, Sombrero Rick. Welcome, my friend. Excellent, Ricky. You look absolutely fabulous tonight down in Aruba. Help us get this show started. Let's bring his alter ego in, a man that gets excited by the 14-hour conference call. Welcome, Ruthless Rick Taylor.
Hey, what's up? Good to be back. I'll tell you what, that picture makes me not want to be back, man.
Well,
you mean the water part, the horse, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we missed you last week, buddy. So Sombrero Rick filled in, and I think Sombrero Rick wants to ask you a few questions, if that's okay with you, pal.
Yeah, fire away.
Excellent. Hey, Rick, Sombrero Rick here. How are you?
What's up, Sombrero?
Oh, wonderful. So it took me 2 seconds to pick out my horse. How long would it take you to choose between a white horse and a tan horse?
It's 6 months of research, man.
I've noticed you take a lot of time to figure things out, Rick. So, Rick, do me a favor, fill in the blank. It took me blank long to review my hotel bill.
Zero time. I didn't even look at it, to be honest.
You did not overanalyze the hotel?
I did not. I didn't want to see it. I didn't.
Yeah.
I still don't know.
Fill in the blank, my American friend. Out of every 10 trades that are offered, I lose blank amount of them because they are withdrawn due to my overthinking.
Probably 60%.
60%. I am now going to ride my white horse into the sunset, Rick. Thanks for chatting with me.
See you, Sombrero.
Excellent, Ricky. Good to see Sombrero Rick checking in with us right now. And now a girl that finally will pay attention to tonight's show because the fate of her pig Philadelphia Flyers was sealed last night in an awful loss to the Buffalo Sabres. Fantasy Heather, welcome. Paying attention to nothing.
Oh, right.
Paying attention to absolutely nothing. Your team sucks. You're done. You can actually produce this show tonight and try not to butcher too much tonight.
It's fine. You get very used to rooting for the losers.
Awful.
Fine.
Awful. Let's get
Awful.
this thing awful. Let's get this thing rolling tonight. Can I go on? So we can keep your attention tonight? Huh? Heather, this show, Dynasty Depot Live, is Season 1, Episode 10, is brought to you by
Dynasty Depot, the world's only auction site for buying and selling FFPC Dynasty teams. At Dynasty Depot, you buy your favorite players, buy teams at a discount, and sell the teams for profits. There's over 500 Dynasty fanatics and over 1,000 teams sold, so you're sure to stay busy in the off season. Every team purchased on Dynasty Depot hits our leaderboard with a shot at one of 4 FFPC main event seats, giving you a chance at $500,000. Go to www.dynastydepot.com and get in on the action. Use promo code NERDS50, an exclusive offer. This promo code is going to get you an annual Dynasty Depot membership for 50% off, plus a free membership to Dynasty Nerds. Nelson, you want to chat about this a little bit? They just integrated with FFPC. Some cool stuff going on.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, Ricky. So you actually have a Nerds membership and have integrated your FFPC portfolio into their Dynasty GM. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, when we last summer when we were talking about how many teams we have and stuff, we always had the thought, man, it would be good to see how many shares of a player you had. And then we started talking to Nerds, and they came out with the GM tool. So a couple of weeks ago, got on there. It sucks in your teams from FFPC. It was like a 20-second process. Pulled them all in. Shows 50 teams, how many percentage or how many shares of my teams I have for certain players. It ranks your teams versus the other teams in the league. So, maybe some of your teams are 1 out of 12 all the way down to the bad ones that are, 12 out of 12. But it gives you an idea of the ones you need to make moves, need to diversify. And it's a really cool tool. I like it.
Well, they have one hell of a product there. And it's really pretty cool that we're able to share this product with our new members using the code NERDS50, 50% off. You're getting a $50 value for absolute nothing. So let's move on here and introduce our guest, which Daniel is having some technical difficulties, Heather, which I've texted you, but I don't think you've seen that. So hopefully he is in the green room waiting. But first we will bring in the man He is. Okay. But first we're going to bring in the man that caused all the problems tonight by taking Mr. Jonathan Taylor at 101 in the Dynasty Depot High Stakes Masters Draft. He has been a co-host on this show. He is a friend of the show. He is our friend, the Taco Corporation, Mr. Jeremy Miller. Welcome back, sir.
Hi, Nelson. Hi, Rick. Hi, Heather. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy.
I didn't mean to cause such an S storm over everything, but just my one pick. But
I don't know about the S storm, but you called a shit storm, which I had to write a whole show about this, what you did, and it's been a little bit of a problem. But you're going to fix it tonight because you will be debating the great Buffalo alcoholic, the man who does not think JT should have gone 101 and caused a shit storm on Twitter with everybody the other day. So you guys are going to battle this out later, a friendly battle, and we will see how that goes.
Absolutely.
But next, let me bring in our other guest. This man has so many alias names, the FBI has given up even looking for him. They don't know whether to look for Joe Van Gogh, Smoking Joe, Daniel Priestner, but he is our friend, Smoking Joe himself. Daniel Priestner, welcome, my friend.
Good to be here. Hello, everyone.
It is good to be here. It is good to be here, buddy. And thanks a lot for joining us. Me and you have been friends. Rick, so you probably don't know this. You probably don't know this. So when we came up with this Dynasty Depot idea, I was hammered out on my deck at the beach. And I actually called Danny one night, drunk at like 1 a.m. Said, what do you think about this idea? He goes, man, I think it's a good idea. I think you should do it. And the only reason we're here is because Smoking Joe said it was okay, and we trust Smoking Joe.
Way to go, Joe.
I think I was doing a best ball that night, I'm pretty sure.
You probably we will talk about some of your selections when we get into this very soon. But first, let's get the show started here so we can get moving here. We always start out the show with WTF, what do you know what's bothering people, what's going on in the world. Shit always seems to be bothering me, so this is real easy for me. Taco Corporation, what's bothering the Taco Corporation these days?
Well, since we're in the middle of a slow draft right now with the Masters draft going on, it's the slow pick and the slow draft clock. I mean, we have 8 hours, 6 hours, whatever the timer is to make a pick. And there's people out there that want you to make the pick within 5 minutes. And it just, it's aggravating. And I just want to take my time. Sometimes I want to field some offers. Sometimes I want to maybe debate between a couple guys, maybe JT or CMC, it might take me a little bit of time to decide what I want to do. So stop rushing me. Just relax. I'll make a pick. I'm not going to take the full 6 or 8 hours. Give me some time and don't try to rush people.
The Taco Corporation cannot be rushed. That's how you build a corporation like the Taco Corporation. It's one brick at a time, my friend.
Exactly.
I love it. Danny, my boy, what's bothering you these days?
Man, not a lot bothers me. I'm a pretty chill guy, but Jeremy, you and I are on the exact same wavelength. I like to take my time in a startup draft. I like to move around. I like to field offers. And sometimes I even like to, field an offer back that's, a 5.12 instead of a 6.1. So it could be something that small, but I'm going to take the time to make those adjustments. And sometimes I'm chasing around a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. So get off my back. Stop telling me to draft in 30 seconds and just be happy you're in a startup draft in April.
Now, I think when I go to my partner, Mr. Rick, we're going to go to the other side of the coin here. And I don't think we're going to use people's names, not you guys, but I think the other side of the coin's about to come up. Ricky T, what you got?
I'm like Danny. I don't complain a lot, whatever happens. And even with taking time in the draft, but I'm in a draft right now. And from the time I went to bed last night until just before this call, 2 picks were made in, 20 hours, because you got the overnight pause. It's the same person too. So they had back to back.
He was on the wrap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And no notification. Like I get sometimes stuff goes on, you drop a thing, hey guys, I'm jammed up today at work. It's gonna be a while. But that was bothering me. But
you look pretty
for the most part. I don't really care. It takes a couple hours.
You're upset about it, man.
Yeah, you know what the other thing is when a guy posts for every pick on the block. 104 is on the block. 106 is on the block. Nobody else is doing it.
That can be really annoying, dude.
You got Dan and Jeremy.
We're going to move to the next person now, Rick.
I've done that the odd time for sure.
Rick, we'll move on to the next one here. Good talking to you about that. Fantasy Heather, what's bothering you?
Rick thinks since he missed a week, he got 2 WTFs this week.
He did. He had to take a shot at his buddy here. But
I got him queued up here.
Heather, what else you got for us?
He's ready to go. Well, unlike those guys, I could complain about a lot. Like a lot of things bother me. The opposite. But for this show, I'll just say that you making me come up with a WTF each week bothers me. Because I don't know really about it. All I know from fantasy football is what you guys tell me each week. I don't know about your little draft. I don't know. It's not even little. I don't know.
So Rick,
I don't know about it.
Rick, I don't want to interrupt Heather, but I've known Heather for like 30 years, right? And whenever, for some reason, she always does it with me. Anything I'm involved with, and I don't really care about your little football, your little that. She always uses the word little to me. It doesn't matter. I don't care about here. I don't care about your little draft. I don't care. Everything is little to her when it comes to Nelson, and I don't understand why.
I know. As I just said that, I was like, "Ooh, that's probably not the right word to use because this really isn't little. It's like paying my bills, and I love it. I love the little draft.
It's just a little draft for Heather, right? Well, I'll give you one that's bothering me a little bit, and I talked to Rick about this. And I'm not going to use names because I'm a man of the people. I love everybody. But certain, I'll say analysts, writers, I'll put everybody, broadcasters, I'll put everybody that talks about fantasy football in the same thing. So I don't single out anybody. But I talked to a certain analyst this week, and he's talking to me about doing some things and posting and stuff like that. And this, this guy's got a good job, man. He's got a good job in the industry. And he's really confused because he has 3 teams. How do you know what you know? Tell the public what you know and have 3 teams. How is that possible? I don't understand it. If you know something and you're good at it, I would think you would have 100 teams. I think I'm good at it. I have 100 teams. Smoking Joe thinks he's good at it. He has 200 teams. Okay. Wife's in the other room. I meant 10 teams.
I'm still trying to catch you, Nelson.
Right. But you know what I'm saying? Like if you got a job on the radio or TV and you're this, and you're going to tell me that you got 3 teams, how the hell is that your job? It doesn't make sense to me. Bothers me.
Leaving opportunity on the table.
I would. No, when you can say it like that, I'm like, put your money where your mouth is what I'm thinking in the back of my head, right? You know, I should see you banging into 1250 leagues with me. You know, that's what I want to see. If you're putting out your thing to the public because you know it all, and all these guys think they know it all, but yet I don't see them banging in the big leagues. Okay, and it bothers me a little bit. You know, maybe I should have their job because I bang in the big leagues. I don't know. Let's move on.
And maybe you will soon.
Maybe.
And maybe you will. You got a couple GOAT districts. People got to chill.
Well, yeah, especially if you're drafting. Because the GOATs went on. The GOATs almost. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The GOAT district. My friend in the GOAT district almost were the first people in Masters draft history to go clock the other day. So
that was me, wasn't it?
No, that was when Danny, I think, went MIA or something the other day. Not you. I think it was Williamson the other day. But
I think it was me, man. I was down to about 45 minutes. If Williamson might have as well.
You guys had a couple. The Dannies run deep. Let's move on. So we are getting near the back end of the Masters draft. There's still some things. I caught some heat for some things that were said last week from a couple of the Masters pros. Not that I give a shit. So we're going to put the Masters board up and let's talk about this a little bit here, because the subject really never got answered with some of these guys, and now we have different people's perspective. And Rick wasn't here last week, and I'm going to repeat a couple of things that happened last week, but I still want to talk about it. So you guys as experts, and I respect both your guys' games. We picked on poor Noah the other week, and I had to apologize, but he really wasn't mad at me for taking DK at 111. Okay, so we can move this on. It can be the same thing with Joe at 2-1, Danny at 2-1, or Seth at 1-9. We know now the running backs have dried up. We know if you look at your rosters, okay, there's teams that are really hurting at running backs because all the pros seem to bang them out really quickly. Now, moving on in drafts as we continue on here, Danny, are you going to be, more running back heavy early, knowing that if you're drafting with the right people, you could be sitting at 5'8", having to take Mr. Gainwell as you did in this draft? Talk to me about it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I usually like to build with anywhere between 2 to 4 of these stud backs in the top 24. I think it's all about scarcity at the position. This seems to be the case in both redraft and dynasty. So, if I can get up to even 4 of these guys or 3 of them and a tight end in the first 4 rounds, I'm pretty confident I can build a great team. If you look at the value you can get at wide receiver later in the draft, you got, guys in round 9 or later, Curtis Samuel, Will Fuller, Robbie Anderson, Gallup, Cooks. I mean, the list goes on. So I think you can really build your team strong, especially in a best ball, if you're going to draft these receivers later. In this particular draft, I took CeeDee Lamb only to change things up. I've done so many startups, and I always grab 2 running backs first. I was at the turn there and immediately regretted it. I've been trying to chase down Brent to trade CeeDee Lamb for Travis Etienne ever since the draft happened, and he won't do it. So I ended up making a different deal with him to grab Javonte Williams for Michael Thomas and Michael Gallup. in order to fill that third RB spot that I think will be a guy in the top 24.
So I'm just going to follow up with you here, and then I'm going to throw it to Jeremy and Rick on this because it's really interesting. So if you look at this master board, and this is not something that's hell of a lot different from everything I've been seeing. Okay, so I've done 17 startups so far, and you're seeing this because if you look at round 4, okay, where Jeremy took Hunt, which is way too damn early, but you have no running backs until basically Gainwell and Carson go, end of 5, 6. So you're looking at 30-some picks of no running backs here. So it's kind of scary here. What do you think about that, Jeremy?
I agree. And I probably traded back too much because I traded out of round 2 and round 3. And I know in round 3 I could have had either Josh Jacobs, I think it was, and or James Robinson there, but I decided to trade back with you guys actually.
Right.
And then Kareem Hunt was the very last guy I had on my list that I would take there. And I knew it was still too early for him, but I figure he's still relatively young. He's going to catch passes. He could be a solid RB2 for me. So I didn't have a problem taking him there, even though it was a little bit early because he wasn't going to last much longer. So
no, I agree. And for your team, and you've built a hell of a team that we've talked about, me and Rick, you did a really nice job in this. And, that's what was needed at the time. But if you're looking at a back earlier, right, and then you could have been grabbing T. Higgins right there at 4.3, that would have been, in hindsight, right?
Oh, yeah, that would have been ideal, definitely.
In hindsight. Rick, what do you think about this? We've gone through a ton of drafts together, man, and the running backs seem to dry up this year like no other. You're not getting the 6th, 7th round backs that are serviceable. There's one maybe in Carson, and if you want to take a gamble with Melvin Gordon, AJ Dillon, who I'm a big fan of. I think he's going to have a big role this year. Anyway, what do you think about that? It's tough.
It is tough. I think that some of the rookie backs outside of the top 3, 1 or 2 of them are going to hit. They're going to get drafted the right spot. So, if you get enough picks in that 6th, 7th, 8th round, and you got Chuba Hubbard and Sermon, you get lucky enough, it might work out for you.
Sure.
You start out with the receivers. I feel like it's a better long-term play. You get more years. They're a little less, I don't know. In my opinion, injury prone. It doesn't seem like they're going down as much as running back. So it's a safer play. It just makes your team building harder, and it makes you really need to hit on some picks late in the draft. But also supporting the wide receiver thing, I think, is every year there's some backs that come out and they win the starting job, like a James Robinson last year, right. Or somebody goes down and you're picking somebody up off a waiver. Where a running back, they get the starting job, they're getting 15, 20 touches a game. A receiver, if they step into the starting role, they're not exactly guaranteed the target. So you have some more opportunity to fill in a starting running back with the waiver wire. So it's an interesting concept. I just haven't had the guts to pull the wide receiver thing yet, because at the end, it's stressful. You're working the whole draft to try and find that running back, and it's exhausting sometimes.
It is. It's a never-ending chase. Danny, thoughts about trading future ones? I've been in 100 leagues with you, seen you do it sometimes. Sometimes I see you collecting them. Is it kind of a feel for how the draft's going and how your team's going? Is it a punting situation sometimes that you'll just end up, I'm collecting ones and I'll worry about this next year. I don't like what I've done so far.
I'm finding myself this offseason leaning a lot more towards trying to win now. If I'm going to put in all the time and effort that it takes to win in a dynasty league every single week with trades and the waiver run, with a lot of volume on draft day, that's a busy time. With all the work put into it, to me, I want to win now. I'm here to win, and so I'm always willing to deal my future one. And when I get into a situation where, say, I'm 0-4, 0-3, 0-5, 1-6, whatever it is, I think I can always recoup that first round pick to a contender. So I'm pretty much always willing to move that pick.
And I agree with you. When things don't work out, and you just if you know the right time to cut bait, you can recoup that. And I agree with you. Jeremy, thoughts on that, on moving ones?
I always go into just about every draft saying I'm not going to trade my one, and then I get an offer. And I'm like, I don't think I can pass this up. And I get the itch. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And then I decide, yep, I'm going to take that deal and get an extra second or an extra third or whatever, is offered, and it seems good. I mean, it's so tough because there's always one or two people out there that want to collect all the first round picks. And it's hard whenever they want to do that because they're willing to go above and beyond a lot of times, what they should do to get that first round pick. So if the offer's right, I'm always willing to trade it. Like I said, I try to go in and not trade it with the plan of it, but it never usually works out that way because I'm always looking to move up, move down, move around. Like Rick said, I like to collect those round 5 to round 9 picks that way because I see there's a lot of, rookies in there, like he was saying, that I can get, and one or two of those hit, running back especially, and I'm golden. So, and then like Dan was saying, you can always recoup those if you're not having a good season to start off with. So I don't ever have a problem trading those. So.
And Rick, you and me kind of draft similar. Obviously, we draft a lot of teams together. We're a little tighter about moving ones. We've drafted a ton of teams. We did it one time this year.
Yeah, I think I'm probably overanalyze it a little bit, but depending on the draft format, like if it's a standard league, probably more prone to trade my one and not collect them because the chances of it being a top pick, and then no quarterbacks are going high in the rookie draft, so there's only usually 5 to 6 picks. You have a 50-50 chance of it being a good pick. Or if I'm in a super flex best ball, a lot of times I'm trying to collect those first because you look at this year. Let's see, all the rookies are like top 6 picks, top 6 rounds in a maiden draft. So if you had 4 of those, you're like getting 4 top 6 picks. So it depends on the format. Is what I do. Is the long.
I agree with you. Also, it's much harder to trade that one in a super flex or the new tri-flex leagues that are out right now. So another thing. So guys, this year's probably been worse than ever with this. Everybody's trading down. Nobody's wanting to trade up. Okay, so I've taken a different strategy lately in a couple drafts where I've been moving up and go get my guys. I made a trade with Danny this morning to move up to 2-6 in a tri-flex and pick Jefferson this morning. I've been a lot more aggressive lately because the people have been much more aggressive to move down, and I've found that to work to my advantage a little bit. They're so anxious to move down. Moving up's a lot easier than it used to be. Okay, so do you have a problem with Danny just going down, or you'll come up sometimes?
Yeah, I'll come up sometimes. In that same super flex, I went up to get Justin Herbert. I feel pretty good about that. I really like Herbert's ceiling. I like his floor. I think he's a superstar. So yeah, I'm willing to definitely trade picks or trade my future draft picks as well to move up, as long as I like the relative value. Basically, it's as simple as that to me.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I like to trade up some too. I mean, in this draft, I've been kind of moving around and stuff, but I traded up to get Herbert in this draft. Actually, I knew the one guy wanted Dak, and I had the pick that I was going to take him, and then you had the pick after me, and you had offered me a trade for it, and I'm like, well, I can trade the pick, and I know he's probably going to take Dak, but I can get that other pick right after and still get Herbert, and I was fine with that. So I don't mind trading up if I know I can get the guy I want. And sometimes there's guys there that I definitely traded up to get Michael Carter in this draft too, because I like his playing style, and I think he's going to be a really good back if he gets in the right situation. So I don't have a problem moving up, and I will definitely try to do that if I can. So,
Ricky, I'm gonna ask you a different question here, and then we're gonna get ready to move into the debate. I know Adam's waiting for us. So we've had this conversation. We've had all the conversations. People use ADP too much. You think that's too much? Like I like what Jeremy did. ADP was not a factor. He needed a back. He likes Hunt's skill set. He took him at 4-3. Okay. Danny took a shot with Gainwell, rookie, because I know he likes his rookies, and I like to pick over Carson there. And I actually have to make that same selection. I'm on the clock right now. I have to pick one of those two guys in the 7th round, but it is a super flex. So, Rick, ADP used too much, isn't it?
I think so. But, I know it's used too much, but I still use it. It's
right.
It's data that you go to. It makes you feel good if you get a good value. But it's like ADP is a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? That we read it, you pick according to it, and then it just gets locked in where once it's locked in and you see 20 drafts averaged together, and that's what people pick to. Where I think if you ignored it completely and you used, maybe your own rankings or some other expert rankings, just, thought about it a little more instead of relying on that, you could probably end up with some, good values.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Rick said. I mean, I don't have too much more to add other than that. I mean, I feel the same way.
Danny?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Gainwell there. I took him ahead of, some other players, other positions that I actually prefer to him. But again, it's just because I didn't see a running back, for the next few rounds that I was interested in. So I figured I didn't have another. I had a 6'1", but I had 3 wide receivers I liked, and I was at 5'8". So it was between him and Carson. And
right.
I'm swinging for the upside instead of taking the reliable guy that might give me 1 year here or 2. And so I took a swing on him, even though I knew his ADP was about a round out.
Last question for our 2 guests. Has Dynasty Depot changed the way you approach a draft now, knowing you're not going to have this team forever if you choose not to? Danny?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I can take a swing on something. If I build a team I hate, I can sell it the next day, and as long as I've done my job correctly, I should be able to at least get out what I paid.
But you mentioned that you're and like I know I've drafted 100 drafts with you. You're a lot about upside. I know who you're taking before you take them. This year, you have been more aggressive in going for the win now. Is that because Dynasty Depot, you'll go ahead and try to win this year, and then you have an out on that team, even if it gets
for sure.
over?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
completely agree. And again, if I manage the team correctly throughout the season, even if I don't like it at the end, it should still be a team that's at least good enough to break out of for what I paid.
I agree with that. Jeremy?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's changed the way I look at things for sure. I mean, I'm willing to go out there and even buy more orphans now because I know I can make some moves, make the team better, and then go out and I might only spend $1 for a team, an orphan team, and then go out and even if I sell it for $100 or $200, I mean, I'm making a big profit there. So, I mean, I think it totally changed the game, and I love it. So I'm out there all the time. I got bids in right now for 2 or 3 teams out on Dynasty Depot, so I'm out there all the time. So it definitely changed the game.
Has Dynasty Depot changed your life, Heather?
Well, it sure has, Nelson. He goes, Nelson's like, we're going to do a podcast. We're going to do a podcast, and you're going to produce it. I was like, sure, okay.
and you do a fine job, Heather. I know there's the 16 people on Twitter appreciate the effort that you put in and week out for making this fine show work. Let's do it, guys. So we all know why we're here tonight. So I'll give you some background. So Dynasty Depot Masters Draft Pick 101, Mr. Jeremy Miller, the Taco Corporation, selected Mr. Jonathan Taylor with the 101. As I was posting on Twitter, pick by pick, to the masses and the millions of people following this, trying to see what people would do in this high-stakes league, a nice gentleman called the Buffalo Alcoholic did not agree with that pick. So I'm fine with it. It got a little heated. I liked it. Everybody made a lot of good points. So what we did is we invited Mr. Adam, the Buffalo Alcoholic, on the show to have a debate. Heather, bring in my friend Adam, please. Hey, buddy.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey, Adam.
How are you?
Adam.
How you doing?
Hey, Adam.
I'm doing all right.
Okay, so you are here with my partner Rick, Fantasy Heather, who you already know. Danny Priestner, you probably know him as Smoking Joe. That's what everybody else knows him as. And Jeremy Miller, who actually made the 101 selection. So we're going to have a debate with you two. Okay, I'm going to read the questions. You're going to have 1 minute to comment on it. If Danny or Rick has a follow-up, they will ask it, and we will go back and forth. Jeremy, first question is for you, my friend.
Okay.
Remember, you selected JT.
I did.
In JT's last 6 games, including the playoffs, he averaged 25 fantasy points per game against subpar defenses. Is that a concern when you selected him at 101 with the subpar defenses he faced at the end of the year?
Absolutely not. I mean, I'm drafting because it's a dynasty league, so I'm looking further down the road than just this coming year. So Jonathan Taylor's 22 years old. He had a great stretch, a great run there at the end of the year, no matter what the defenses were. Granted, you can say they were subpar defenses, but the man had a 253-yard rushing game in there at the end of the year. So, I mean, he's young. He's proved to be durable at Wisconsin. I think he got off to a little bit of a slow start because of the pandemic, not having the off season. And then if you take a look at things at Wisconsin, they run a lot of I formation single back sets where the quarterback's under center, where in the NFL with Phillip Rivers and the Colts, they ran a lot of shotgun, and he was running a lot of runs out of shotgun too. So I think it took him some time to adjust with that as well. So I think there was just a big adjustment period with him and kind of with the, getting acclimated to the NFL running style and everything and defenses. It just took him a while to get started because even Clyde Edwards-Helaire didn't have a great rookie season. Right. And where he was drafted in the first round. So I'm not concerned about it. I think he's a great pick at 1-1. I debated for a long time between him and CMC, and I like Taylor just because of the fact that he's young, and okay. I think he's going to be a great player. So
let's Heather.
Yeah.
The button. The cutoff button.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All debates have a cutoff button. Go ahead, cut them off.
You'll need that from me, probably.
We might. She's busy right now. Rick, Danny, anything to follow up on that? What do you have to say?
Go ahead, Danny.
I was just going to say the real thing that jumps out to me about JT is that you've got a quarterback coming in that is not Phillip Rivers, who just absolutely is obsessed with checking it down to his running backs. So how do you respond to the changing quarterback?
We're gonna actually talk about that when that gets into a question. Mr. Buffalo Alcoholic.
Yep.
Adam, buddy, welcome. In 2018, CMac touched the ball 326 times. In 2019, he touched the ball 403 times. In the long term, which obviously what Dynasty is, how can you justify a long career with any running back getting that many touches?
Well, if you go back and look, he never even touched the ball rushing 300 times. It was less than 300, and a lot of more catches, and a lot of those catches were out in space where he's not taking huge hits. Okay, he's going to come back into the same sort of offense as last year. We don't know who the quarterback is at this point, but their defense is still really bad. He's still going to get their defense is probably still going to give up 25 to 30 a game. So he's going to get plenty of opportunity for garbage points, which you don't want to count on. But when you have a horrible defense and people can score at will, it's just a matter of, it's just going to happen, I mean, I don't know how many times he got checked down the ball in the last couple of minutes of a game. And I mean, the game wasn't even really competitive, but we used to refer to in the betting circles, we used to refer to Teddy Bridgewater as Teddy covers because you'd always find a backdoor cover on like just garbage time. And regardless, he didn't play the full season last year. He's still going to have that elite opportunity, and you're getting a wide receiver 1 and a running back 1 in the same thing. He's only 24 years old. People act like he's really old. He's 24. He will turn 25 before the season. That's still well within his range, and he didn't take a lot of hits in college. You go back and look, he took 600 and something hits in college versus Jonathan Taylor, who took over 900. So he's never had a huge workload. His rookie year, he was not overused. He's overused on a snap basis, but a lot of it's, again, check downs and getting out of bounds or taking minimal hits. He's not just running into the line of scrimmage and hitting.
Rick, follow up?
Yeah, actually, there's an interesting point there. Is if you go back to JT's college days, he got fed the ball over and over. I don't remember what his carry totals were, but I'm a Big Ten fan, and then the dude was a workhorse. So if you look at total career, hits and carries, it's probably not too far apart, actually.
Okay.
I think McCaffrey probably gets a little extra hit this year too, because he ended the season with the cup getting banged up a little bit. So there's that story that people have in their heads that he hurt his shoulder, he hurt his quad or something after that. So that's the thing people are remembering from last year, and they forget how dominant he was.
They haven't forgot too much because 90% of the leagues he's going first, so they haven't forgot about it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Taco.
Yep.
Taco.
Yes.
In 2019, CMac caught 116 balls. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In 2020, the last 6 games when JT was officially the man, and I would think that was the last 6 games, he caught 12. So let's say he ends up with 50 or 60 catches this year. Okay. How can that kind of production match up to what CMac's going to put on the board over the next few years to justify taking him over CMac?
Well, one of the big things I looked at too, and Rick kind of alluded to it there, is McCaffrey getting injured and all the touches he's had. Now, granted, go back to college and maybe it is close, but I know in the last 4 years, CMac's had 1,002 touches in those 4 years. So he's been taking a pounding. He's been taking some hits. I don't know if he's going to be able to play full 16 games for 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. So I looked at that and the mileage, and with Taylor being younger, and I think with that Colts offensive line, he's going to be close to what Derrick Henry numbers are, with the close to 2,000 yards every year, and he's probably going to score a lot of rushing touchdowns. Where I know McCaffrey scores some rushing touchdowns and receiving touchdowns, but I think it'll balance out in the long run if he's able to get 50 to 60 catches. With his yardage total is going to be more than what McCaffrey's is in the long run with that good Colts offensive line and the good defense that the Colts have. I think they're going to be closing out a lot of games running the ball and putting the ball in the end zone late. And he's going to be the guy punching it in. I don't see Hines getting in on the goal line, where I can see McCaffrey maybe not getting all the goal line carries as well. They might be putting somebody else in there. I know Mike Davis left, but I'm sure they're going to be bringing another back in, and probably be a short yardage guy. So I like I said, Taylor's younger and doesn't have as many hits and as many touches as what McCaffrey does. So,
Danny, any follow up to that?
No, I just think it's probably a 50-50 shot if the Colts are actually a good team or not. And so, I'd like to think that they'll be in good game script, but I think it's a flip of a coin.
That's a great point. Also, they do have a I hate to keep using the word pig, but a pig is a quarterback. So, sorry, my show. And my guy that disappointed me. Okay. Adam, coming off a wasted year, and that last year was a wasted year, knowing he is going to be used heavy as a you-know-what this year, how can I build my dynasty team around this guy that's going to take another, 400? I'm not talking about this year. He's going to carry it if he's healthy, carry it and receive it 400 times this year. That's a fact. Okay. But how can I build a team around that long term, knowing that kind of usage doesn't lead to a long career?
Well, I mean, if you take him 101, you've essentially got a wide receiver 1 and an RB1, which you don't need like an all-star RB2 at that point. You can load up on wide receiver to try and get an advantage that way, or take an elite tight end, because you're going to get so much production basically from McCaffrey that you can survive with a lower end RB2, in my opinion. I would also be sure to somehow get his backup in there, because that role was very valuable even when he was not in there. Now, you don't want him in there, but Mike Davis had, I think, like 3 or 4 20-point games in fantasy.
RB11 last year.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you had both of them, you still managed your points. You know what I mean? You got by. It's not what you want, because you're probably
saying that offense they're going to run there, that anybody they put back there is going to put up as long as you got that backup, because the offense is built around the running back.
Exactly. And it's not just the running back, it's the receptions. Like Mike Davis, I mean, I think the one game he had 10 receptions. Yeah, so I mean, they just overuse it, and again, it's a bad defense. That defense is so bad that they're gonna be in shootouts left and right. Whereas the Colts have a good defense, and that right now I think they have an average to above average offense. I think games are gonna be much more closer. Whereas Carolina's gonna get, I mean, they're gonna give up 30 points a game, I think. So they're gonna need to.
Just it's a little counterintuitive. Usually the good defenses are the ones where you want the back because they're grinding out, playing ball control.
Usually, yes, but in PPR scoring, you get a lot of check down receptions at the end of a game that are very, very valuable, and it'll lead to receptions, touchdowns. I mean, it just adds up. I mean, look at Jonathan Taylor's week 1. Had he not had receptions, he was a complete bust. He had 22 yards his opening day, but then he had 6 catches for 67 yards, and it completely saved you.
Okay. Jeremy, it's proven that Hines is going to get his fair share of catches into Indianapolis. That's going to happen. Can the 101 guy be a guy that comes off the field so much?
I think that he can, because I think that's going to help him stay fresh, for one thing, to have Hines that comes in every so often to spell him, even on third downs. And I still think they're going to scheme Taylor up enough to where he's going to get his screen passes. Sure. You can't just have him just in there on running plays. So he's going to get his 50 to 60 catches. And I think that he'll do enough to prove that he can stay on the field for some third downs. He's not going to be in there all the time. So like you said, Hines is a very good receiver.
Let me ask you a question. I'll answer. I'm going to follow this up with you. So fourth quarter, 8 minutes left in the game. Colts are down 10. Who's the running back in the game? I think it's Hines.
That's a tough question. I can see where it could be Hines, and you're right about that. But I can also see Taylor being in there as well, because he can catch the ball. I mean, he has proven he can catch.
They have a specialist that's pretty damn good there. I mean, he's a good player.
They do.
So he's not going to sit on the sidelines all the time.
That's true. That is true. No, he's definitely going to play, and I can definitely see your point with that. And but there's just something about Jonathan Taylor, and it's the reason why I took him is I debated for, I don't know, a long time, many days since I knew I had to pick 1-1, and it took me a while. And I just kept coming back to Jonathan Taylor. And even though Hines is there, even though they have Carson Wentz now as the quarterback, there's just something about Jonathan Taylor that I saw in those last 5 games. And granted, you can say they were against subpar defenses, but man, he looked good.
Well, he looked good in the playoffs against a pretty good defense.
He did against Buffalo. He looked damn good. So, I mean, I just couldn't pass him up. 22 years old. McCaffrey has over 1,000 touches in those 4 years. He was banged up last year. Maybe it's in hindsight, it'll look bad on me because like Rick said, I'm looking back at McCaffrey because he burned me in a couple leagues last year by being hurt. And I thought he would come back, and they'd say he's coming back. He's not coming back, and wasn't sure. So then, I don't know. There's just something about Taylor I see, and I just love it. So
it's beautiful, man. The commitment's beautiful. Mr. Buffalo, 2019. What's that?
Can I say something on that point? Because I went back and looked at it. Nyheim Hines was actually the leading was the high score running back on his team weeks 1 through 15. During the regular season, people don't realize how good Hines was. And that's not a slight on Taylor. One finished number 6, one finished 15. But for the first 15 weeks, he was not the leading point scorer on the team. And a lot of that has to do with, obviously, Phillip Rivers, who's not there. And then I went back and looked at Carson Wentz. And I cannot imagine, and it's not Taylor, this is Wentz. I cannot imagine him catching 50 to 60 balls. The reason why is because he's good at hitting a receiver if he's a running back, if he's running a wide receiver route. If he's running a check down or whatever, he massively overthrows the running back way too much. Go back and look at Jonathan Taylor's catches. All of them, they were not wide receiver routes. They were like check downs or first read, or someone's blitzing and they check down. Phillip Rivers is throwing it right in his chest and right in his belly. And Carson Wentz is doing the complete opposite, throwing it at his feet, throwing it 10 yards where he's supposed to be. So unless the running back is the first read on the play, I don't expect Jonathan Taylor to get many catches. Now, Hines, the way they use Hines, they're going to use him as a receiver. He was very effective throwing like 15, 20 yards down the field to running backs. But when it comes to the flat and the 5 yards, within 5 yards line of scrimmage, There were so many overthrows. I can't imagine him catching 60 balls unless he plays.
Very good.
80% of snaps.
All legit. Being this show is produced in Philly, we've seen enough of Mr. Wentz and what he's got checking stuff down into the.
Just Google Carson Wentz missed throw. It's going to come up to Miles Sanders overthrown by almost 15 yards.
Right.
I will say too that when I drafted him too, I'm looking more like a Derrick Henry type of season more than I am a Christian McCaffrey type of season, if that makes sense. Like I see Taylor as more of the Derrick Henry where they're going to pound the rock with him, especially with Wentz, because he proved that he does do overthrows and he will turn the ball over. So I think they're going to run the ball a lot more. And Hines is going to be involved in it. I have no doubt what you were saying is correct. Like he's a great receiver. He's a great player in general. I mean, he could even run the rock some too. But I totally envision a Derrick Henry type season out of Jonathan Taylor. If not this year, then in the years to come. And he'll sprinkle in a little bit more catches, I think, than Henry does.
All great points. Buffalo. In 2019, CMac rushed for 1,387 yards, caught 116 for 1,005 yards. If that's his ceiling in production, due to age, usually goes down off that. Are you willing to build a team around somebody that has already set the bar so high and only really has one way to go?
Yes, because his season was like almost unlike anything we've ever seen. I mean, outside of LaDainian Tomlinson's year where he had all those touchdowns, which you're not going to count on, but catching that many balls is so enticing. Again, that was like that's wide receiver 1 and RB1 stats. Okay, he's 24. People like acting like he's like 28 or something. Like the age for running backs is usually between 26 and 28, depending on how much you've been used. And again, he's not running into the line of scrimmage. His career high for carries is 287, not even 300. That's not a lot. Again, these catches, I know they're touches, but he's not taking massive hits typically. He's able to avoid, get out of bounds, get down. And again, a lot of them come in garbage time where, like, again, he's trying to run out of bounds anyway. He's not taking as many hits as people think. He's incredibly dedicated. I think you do bring up a good point with Jonathan Taylor, though. I think if they're going to try to get the most out of Wentz, they're going to take the ball out of his hand.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I do think that could happen.
Yep.
But I don't envision a 2,000-yard season or anything close to that.
Jeremy.
I will say, I was just going to say that I think when CMC got hurt that last time was on a catch out in the flat where he broke his collarbone getting tackled out of bounds, if I remember correctly. But what's that?
Hits or hits.
You just never know when it's going to happen. And
swing passes.
Yeah.
Take a big hit. We have to move on here. So we're going to give a closing argument. I'm going to ask you, Jeremy, sell me JT at 101 in 1 minute. Go.
Well, for Dynasty, I'm looking for 2 or 3 years down the road. So he's 22 years old. I think he's going to be he's going to have the next Derrick Henry season where he's going to be at 2,000 yards. He's going to score 15 touchdowns easily. With that offense, you got Wentz, who's coming in. They're not going to throw nearly as much as they did with Rivers. So they're going to be running the ball. They're going to be pounding the rock. He's going to have to sprinkle in some catches because they can't go all to Naheem Hines. So he's going to get his 50 to 60 catches, I believe, have his 2,000 yards, score his touchdowns. He's younger. He hasn't had as many touches. With 1,002 touches really scare me with Christian McCaffrey because he's not a huge guy. Plus, he's 24 years old. So I like Jonathan Taylor. I'll stick to my guns. He's my guy. He's my next Derrick Henry. I'll pick him 1-1 every time.
I love it. Buffalo Alcoholic, Mr. Adam, you got 1 minute. Tell me why C-Mac's the guy at 101 this year.
Okay, he's still 24. He's not that old. He's a wide receiver 1 and a running back 1 in combined at one position. It's an advantage over every other player in the league. So, if he's healthy, you cannot replicate his production from his last healthy year. I mean, the next person close to him was 130 or 140 fantasy points off for the season. That just gives you a massive advantage basically across the board where you can load up on other positions and not have to worry about your running back position. I mean, I think he averaged 25 or 26 points. I'd have to look up the splits exactly. But I mean, that's just massive production. He was almost giving you quarterback production from the running back, and plus his offense. I mean, it's coming back. It's all healthy. It's all the same. His defense is going to be terrible. He's going to be in shootouts. He's going to get the ball. He's on the field 98% of the time. You don't need to worry about him coming off the field, regardless of what's going on. He's on the field 98% of the time. That's absurd production.
Excellent, Rick. You heard the boys. Great arguments, two great players. Rick Taylor, who's your 101?
Do I get 60 seconds?
You do.
I'll tell you what, coming in, I like the idea of the shiny new toy of Taylor, especially in a dynasty format. But the more I thought about it and some of the comments I've heard, I mean, CMac is the right pick, I believe. JT is the more exciting pick to me because it's the unknown of what he could be. Where is his ceiling? So, if I'm drafting 10 teams, I'm probably taking JT a couple times just to hedge my bet there, and CMac the rest of the times.
Smoking Joe, Daniel Priestner, talk to us. Who's your 101, buddy?
Well, are you asking me to decide the debate or tell you who my 101 is? Because those could be different things.
I think they both did a good job. I don't think we need to decide the debate. They both.
Thank you. They both did a great job. Yeah, I did not want to have to decide.
You do not. Who's your 101?
My 101 is Christian McCaffrey. I think in the next 2 to 3 seasons, I think that you can reasonably expect a higher level of production from CMac. I think you'll see him go ahead of Taylor in redraft, at least this season and next. Then the question is maybe, the third season from now, does JT pass him? I think CMac has a 25, a 26, and a 27-year-old ceiling in him at an absolutely elite level. I love the fact that he is, like you say, Adam, running back one and a wide receiver one rolled into one player. I don't think you can really replicate that anywhere else in the league.
That's awesome. Listen, there's unanswered questions with both these guys, right? Normally, a 101 a couple years ago, like when Barkley, there was no question. It was Barkley. He didn't come off the field. He got all the touches. Unbelievable talent. There's some question this year. McCaffrey's health is a question this year. Okay. Taylor coming off the field in third down. Carson Wentz. There's question marks there. There is. For me, gun to my head, I take the production that I know the guy that's not going to come off the field. It's probably McCaffrey for me, just because he's not coming off the field. And that's pretty rare in these days. Boys, I appreciate your time. I love it. Great points, great arguments. Like Rick said, if you draft 10, you split them up, you probably have the right answer on half of them there. Adam, where can everybody find you? And anybody wants to find out what the Buffalo Alcoholic's all about on Twitter, where can we find you?
I'm just the Buffalo Alcoholic, but it's not spelled. There's not enough words, so I had to cut off the F in Buffalo, so it's actually UF, but it's only because of Twitter. But anyway, both the @ and the Buffalo Alcoholics, they're spelled all the way out. So I play on FFPC. Last year I did not play because I devoted my resources to sports betting because I was extremely concerned about COVID and investing. Like I invested $10,000 the year before, and it was a lot of money to invest I did not want COVID to throw a wrench into, I don't know, a day before the game, Christian McCaffrey's out because of COVID, sure. Things you can't control and way too much. So I didn't play last year. I'm planning on playing this year and going through it. And I play on, I don't play on FanDuel, but I play on DraftKings. And it's just, again, same name, Buffalo Alcoholic.
Love it. Jeremy, where can we find you, buddy?
Well, you can find me on Twitter. It's at Miller88Jeremy. So I'm on Twitter there. You can find me. I'm on there promoting the Dynasty Depot and the Masters Draft all the time. So you'll find me on there.
And I know we cannot find Daniel Priestner because nobody really knows who he is. Okay, with his aliases in our leagues, but he is Smoking Joe's. And if you sign up for a draft at FFPC, you're probably going to run into Smoking Joe in the draft room real soon. Anywhere else we can find you, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Twitter, but I don't really use it. I don't think I've tweeted in 4 or 5 years, so I'd be a pretty boring follow. I do play on DraftKings. If anyone ever wanted to do low stakes head-to-head, anyone week through 17 or preseason, I'd be down. So you can find me at Joe Van Gogh on DraftKings if you're interested in the head-to-head.
Heather.
Yes.
Talk
Dynasty
to
Depot. Guys, you got to go check it out. Promo code NERDS50, a free Dynasty Nerds membership with this new GM tool. Check it out. And then Dynasty Depot, 50% off any annual membership.
Awesome. Heather, social call outs for Dynasty Depot, please.
Okay, you got it. Twitter and YouTube at the Dynasty Depot, Instagram, Facebook, Dynasty Depot, and of course the website where all the magic happens, dynastydepot.com.
So next week on Dynasty Depot Live-ish, season 1, episode 11. You guys ever have family meeting? Heather, you ever have like a family meeting where, shit's just going really good or really bad, and Den calls everybody into the living room and everybody sits around for a little meeting?
It's like the Brady Bunch. No.
Did you ever have one of those Brady Bunch meetings?
No, not recently. But go ahead. That's what we're doing next week.
Heather, you got to give me a lead in sometimes. Say, yes, we have those meetings all the time. You got to throw me a bone sometimes. So next week on Dynasty Depot Live, we're going to have a little family get-together in the living room with me, Rick, and Heather. We are inviting
Rick looks thrilled. Rick looks thrilled about this.
It was actually Rick's idea. I'm sure Sombrero Rick will pop in somewhere and some other thing. Gray Wall Rick, Light Switch Rick. All the Ricks will be here. But next week, we're going to talk about what's going on at Dynasty Depot, and we're going to get into our own draft analysis of what we think's going on based on what we're seeing at Dynasty Depot, what we're seeing in the FFPC drafts. We're going to talk about the new RotoViz Triflex leagues next week, because now I will have completed about 10 of them by next week. And Danny and I talked on the phone today. There's some different strategies in that. So we're going to talk about that a little bit and try to keep it in-house next week. Anybody got anything else to say?
I just want to say thanks, Buffalo Alcoholic, Taco Corp. Good debate. Thanks for coming on, Danny. Thank you, man. It's good finally meeting you, and best of luck to all you guys in the leagues we're in together.
Guys, thanks a lot for your time. We really appreciate it. Adam, thanks a lot for coming on. We're going to have you on as a guest again. If you come back on, we can talk some more stuff on here. And I appreciate you guys' time. And Danny, everything that you and Jeremy have done for Dynasty Depot, all your retweets, all your buying teams, selling teams. You guys have two people that really have been important to Dynasty Depot getting off the ground and making it the success that it has been. Until next week, guys, we love you. Peace.
You've been listening to the Dynasty Depot podcast, the best source for what's hot in Dynasty Fantasy Football team action. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at the Dynasty Depot. And listeners get a 30-day free rookie membership. Go to dynastydepot.com and use promo code podcast. Dynasty Depot. Bid, buy, sell, dominate.